Well, hello International Foods 10. Today we're going to make a quick rise pizza. This can be made with traditional yeast. You want to add about 5 more minutes to your blooming time and to your proofing time. So what I have here is quick rise yeast. Hard to get these days with COVID, but if you can find it, I found this at Superstore in the big package, so I was doing the happy dance. I also have traditional yeast. I've done it with that, but like I said, it takes a little bit longer to rise. So I've outfitted my mixer with a dough hook. It makes my life so much easier. You can do this recipe by hand with a wooden spoon. You don't need equipment. It's nice to have. I did it also with my hand mixer with the dough hook on it. Works great. So what I have to start is 1 cup of warm water. I actually start with hot because it's going to cool down by the time you get everything. So 1 cup of hot water right in the bowl. Now this is a little trick I've learned about keeping it clean and easy, and there's an order to put this in. I know I've talked about it at school as well. So I have a very dry 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast. Quick rise. That goes right in. Then, to make life a lot easier, I put my 1 tablespoon of oil. I'm using an olive oil. You know me. Get the good stuff out, it's not a lot. So now I have a greasy spoon from the oil. Now I've poured the honey in here. All I have to do, scoop it up, 1 tablespoon. This is the best part. It just comes out. Just to get any last little bits, I have a little sport. There's nothing there. The oil just lifted it right out, which is fantastic. And in here, I've pre-measured a teaspoon of salt. So I like to give that a little. Actually, you know what? I do get it started on here, but I like to get in with a little fork. So I'll come back with that. Just to give it a little once over, get the honey in there, give it a mix, and throw the mixer on. Hopefully I'll talk nice and loud. It doesn't need much. Now I'm just going to let that sit for just a second until we get a bit more of this. So I'm going to show you how to do 2 pizzas. I've pre-made a double dough and I'll show you how to do that. So we've got a vegetarian. I've got fresh basil from the garden. This is what I use for the sauce. Unico makes it. It's an Italian company. It is 213 mils. You can get it in hot or regular. I buy the regular. One of these little tins is perfect for a full pizza. And I have mozzarella. Now this is about a cup and a bit. Again, home cooking, we measure-ish. But what I've done, because I didn't have fresh mozzarella, I did it in, I put it in the box grater right here, down the big side. So I've got like slices of mozzarella. So that's for the margarita. So it's simply sauce, basil, mozzarella. That's it. Very simple pizza. The other pizza we're going to make is a meat lover's pizza, and I have 2 cups of shredded mozzarella. I actually like to use the pizza blend or pizza mozzarella because it's got a little bit of Edam in it, or Gouda, and it gives it a nice stringy texture. I have salami, pepperoni, and ham. And cheese. We're not even gonna go veg on that one. We're gonna go vegetarian on the margarita and meat lovers on the other one. So that just sat for a little bit, and I have pre-measured 2.5 cups of flour. Now it may use a little bit more depending on the humidity in your home or the heat. It'll tend to get a little bit stickier. So it's okay to add a little bit more. Just check your dough. I don't throw the whole thing in at once. I turn the mixer on at lowest speed and dump a little bit in. I also like to use a container like this because it's easier to dump it in rather than trying to get the spoon in there. Always trying to make it a little bit easier for yourself. Now it's sticking down the sides, so I'm going to stop this, pull that down. Start it again. A little bit more speed. Dump almost the whole thing in. I'm going to leave about a 1/2 cup. It's at 2.5 cups, but they said you can use up to an extra 1/2 cup, but no more. You're not going to have a good dough. You're going to have a cracker crust, and it's not a good cracker crust. Again, I'm going to pull down the sides. Get that flour right down there in the mushy yeast mix. Now the dough is very sticky at this point. It's going to need, it's going to need the rest of the flour and possibly more. When I did the first mix this morning, I had to add about a 1/4 cup more. It is a bit humid today. It's Tuesday, June 2nd, and we've got a little bit of humidity out there with the impending rain. All right. Mix this up. It won't take very long at all. Come on. Goodness, you can toss it. You see it? Yep. See, every time I move the camera, I end up screwing up something. So, we'll try and get this so you guys can see it. There you go. You see it's starting to bind it together. Now, ooh, that's good. So I'm going to put that on a low speed and tell Google 3 minutes. So that means you need to, pardon the pun, knead it for 3 minutes. Hey Google, set timer for 3 minutes. So while that is kneading, I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to get my pans out. Start making the pizza that is risen from the dough I made before. So very important. I have a regular flat pizza pan. And I have a very used pizza pan. My sister used to own a pizza restaurant, and these are quite coveted. The more bits and stuff I've got on them, they're really good. And that's got an edge on it. This is a flat. Now, more importantly than anything else right now, you have to grease the pan. I like to use a little bit of olive oil, but I also will use some canola oil. So I'll use a little bit different on each one. Let's get a brush. Oh, I have one out. Okay. All right, so it's really important, especially on this pan, to get in the edges. Really lather that up so that your pizza doesn't stick and fall apart. All right, that's nice and lathered. This one here, the other nice thing that a good oil does is it crisps it up. And this one here, I'm going to try and make it into more of a thin crust, the margarita. Just throw the extra oil in there. And I'll make the Meat Lovers pizza a little bit thicker. All right, here's my dough. Now, this is a double batch. But look at that. Actually, I think I've got so much dough here that I'm going to make a loaf of bread. Now, this is oxidized aluminum. It's a heavy, it's literally heavy, industrial. I buy them from the kitchen supply stores. I order it online. And I have found that if I use a dark pan, you know how sometimes you've got these no-stick dark pans? It kind of burns or darkens any of your baking. So this cost me $11. It's not that bad compared to, I paid almost the same at the superstore for the brown one. Not that good. Like it's supposed to be like a non-stick coating, but it's thin metal. So the bread or pizza or whatever you're making will tend to burn. All right. I'm going to throw some oil in there because you really have to grease the pan. So I doubled the recipe, and I know I will be able to get 2 pizzas and a loaf of bread out of that. All the way up the sides. Really, really get in those corners so that your bread comes out easily. Hey Google, end timer. All right. Hey Google, end timer. So what you need to do, just gonna get the dough, is you can leave it right in the bowl. Oh, that's perfect. Just gonna put it into a little round. You don't need to grease it or anything. I'm going to reuse the plastic wrap. So it's got to be in a fairly deep bowl. And I use plastic wrap. And I set this aside for at least 10 minutes. Hey Google, start timer for 10 minutes. And here's where the fun begins. I'm gonna get my pastry cutter bench scraper. I have a plastic one, but this works better. I can dump my dough out. It's beautiful and soft. Oh my goodness. That's a lovely dough. I'm gonna break this off now. Make a little loaf. That's all I need to do. And I'm just gonna put that aside. Normally I would put a little bit more bread in there, but I just, well, we'll see. Yeah, you need the other for the crust. 2 pizzas, but a small little loaf of bread is good too. All right, I'm just going to put, I'm gonna give that bread a little bit more dough. We don't need that much. So yeah, I've added a bit more. It should fill the pan a little bit. I'm just gonna put that aside for 10, 15 minutes because this bread is a little bit different. I'm gonna let that rise for about 10 to 20 minutes, depending on what I wanna do. So I've got the flat pan here. A little bit of a mess, but ooh, hang on. I better clean that up before I put this oily pan down. There we go. All right. Just gonna spread the dough out. Okay. Let that sit for a second. Stretch it out right on the pan, pushing out, trying not to make any holes. Gonna let that rest for a minute while I do the next one, and I'll be able to push the dough out again. I just roll the pan around. I don't really move my hand. I don't take my hands around. I move the pan. Now, depending on how thin you want it, you could also use a rolling pin and roll it out. I'm just using my hands. This is what's considered a medium pizza. I do have large. You could stretch this out to a large, thin crust. But I'm just gonna go, like I said, I want to make a little bit of a flatter margarita. So I'm gonna switch that up, come back to this pizza, stretch it out a bit more. I want to go right to those edges. And again, this one's not gonna have much of a crust, and that's okay. I don't want it to. Just gonna pull it out. It's very elasticy. That's the gluten. Now, I have not done this with an almond or rice flour. I don't know how that works. I'd have to do a bit of research, although I have done a cauliflower crust, and that was fantastic. So if you're staying away from the gluten for medical reasons, there we go. That's done. I'm gonna take a bit of the sauce. I don't even know if I'm gonna use the whole thing. This is a trick I learned when I used to work in a restaurant when I was in high school. Take the back of the spoon and spread it out. And it gives it a nice even layer. A little bit more sauce. Yeah, I mean, we don't usually like a lot of sauce. I probably could have done 1 can. There we go. For the 2 pizzas, but it depends on what you like. There we go. I'm gonna lay the basil out. I just picked it. Check your leaves that they're clean and dry. Wash them. This one I missed. It's got a little bit of speckle on it. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm not going to use that. I thought I got them all. Now I have preheated the oven to 475. Pizza needs a good hot oven. And, oh, there it is. Good, I've got my topping. And I'm going to take the mozzarella and just lay it out. This is just the shaved mozzarella. If you have fresh mozzarella, even better. Put it out in little thin slices. And there you go, the margherita pizza originally in Italy. In Italy, they don't do big topping pizzas. This is more Neapolitan style. And this is to represent Neapolitana, or the flag of Italy, red, white, and green. All right, so that one's done. It's not a heavy topping pizza. It's a nice light pizza. I'm just gonna put it aside and we'll start on the meat lovers pizza. So that dough sat in a little bit thicker. I'm gonna go around and make a little bit of a crust, and I'm pushing it into the edges. Okay, that's ready. Throw the rest of that sauce in and we'll see how we're doing. There we go. That might just be enough. So the 1 can, like again, depends on your preferences. Little can do me for 2 pizzas. Oh, for sure. Yeah, depending on what size, again, that you're doing. Some of you like more sauce, add more sauce. That's the beauty of cooking for yourself. You do you. You do what suits you and your family. So I have ham. I'll do a layer of each meat. This is a pack I got at Freshco. I like it because it just was the size I needed. It's about 7 slices of each. I've got salami. Sometimes I like the meat lovers, sometimes I like just a plain and simple margherita. Just depends on what mood I'm in. And top that off with some pepperoni. Nice and thinly sliced. About, like I said, it's your preference. You can have, I have a set recipe for you, but toppings, you decide. It all depends on how big your pizza is and how much of these toppings. You can just have a plain olive oil pizza with a little bit of cheese on top, some Parmesan. That's okay too. That's the beauty of something like pizza. You make it what it is. Oh, I got a chunk. I have a chunko pizza. Oh, I forgot. So I saved this little green leaf of basil to put it in the center. So I'll get a little piece of cheese there. There we go, and I'm going to put that basil on top. And this is 2 cups of shredded. This is meat and cheese. This is the heavy. And that, my friends, I mean, my husband probably wants more cheese. We're good. Okay, so both these pizzas are ready. They're going to go into a preheated 475 degree oven. Hey Google, set timer for 12 minutes. Now, take timer for 12 minutes, and that's starting now. I need Google at work, right? So there's the bread. It's already started to rise. I'm going to let it rise a little bit more. When I pull the pizza out, I'll put the bread in. We'll come back with the finished pizza. We'll come back with the finished. Well, hello grade 10s, we're back again. So that first pizza dough I made, it was just a single dose, which was make 1 big pizza. I'm going to make into cinnamon buns. The 2 pizzas are in the oven as well with the bread. So I'm just gonna pull that out. It's nicely risen after 10 minutes. And just going to roll it out a little bit. Now I probably should have flour. Still a little greasy from, yeah, still not too bad, from the pizza, so we're okay. You're gonna roll it out into a rectangle at least 12 inches long. If you can get it longer, that'd be great. And about 8 to 10 inches wide. You don't need a ruler. This is approximately what it should look like. The longer you get it out, more cinnamon buns. All right, so we've got this stretch. I like to just let it hang, and now I can get more length. Now I've melted 2 tablespoons of butter. Try and use butter when you can. I'm gonna run that across, use my brush, kind of like working with the phyllo. Want to cover all the edges. You could probably even go with maybe even a tablespoon for this amount. This might be a little bit too much, but that's okay. I'm going to sprinkle cinnamon, and again, to your taste. Doesn't take a lot. And I've got some brown sugar here, and it's in loosely in 1 cup, but I'm just going to use enough to give it a thin layer. On top, you don't want to get it too much of the brown sugar because it will caramelize. So once I've got it on there, I like to spread it right to the edge. And I'm using a light golden brown sugar. You can use a darker. A Demerara, it's going to be a little too thick and dark, but if that's what you have, that's okay too. So, along the long side, I'm going to start rolling it up. It's very quick. So the dough takes 5 minutes to make, 10 minutes to rise, and another 10-15 to cook in this case. So back with my dough, my bench scraper. I'm gonna aim for 9 cinnamon buns. I've got a 8x8 square pan. So 9, I'm gonna go into thirds then. All right, I'll start with a third, and I know I have to cut that into thirds. Now I'm going to let these rise a little bit because my oven's occupied right now. But I'm just going to put them end up. Try and get the seam to touch something. You don't want it sitting out loosely because this will rise. We're gonna let this sit about 10 minutes before it goes in the oven. So if you're following from the last video, we've got the pizza in, and then we're going to put these in. Now I'm going to give them a little bit of room because they will get bigger. So I'm just going to put those aside. When I pull them out of the oven, I will show you. That's it for now. Quick and easy, under 4 minutes, we just made these. So we're back again. I'm going to pull the margarita pizza out first because it is ready. The bread's going to need a couple minutes more, and as well the meat lovers, but here we go. The bread's going to need a little bit more cooking, but look how nicely it's risen. Just going to move that. And there's the margarita pizza. Just going to move the other pizza to the center. And there you go. I would let that cool down before you cut it. So margarita pizza, the meat lovers, is coming. See you soon. And we're back with the final pizza. The meat lovers is coming out of the oven now. It's nicely browned. It's got the thicker crust. Lots of cheese. I also took the bread out. And when you make the bread, you want to take it out of the pan immediately and let it sit. Hey Google, end timer. You want to let the pan sit on a raised cooling rack. Hey Google, end timer. All right, enjoy your pizza.